Okay, everybody, welcome back. It's me, and we're working through our Friday here with xcp-ng. So, if you weren't here last Tuesday, we have been, well, I have been anyway, going through and trying to create a home lab environment using xcp-ng, which is the Zen community, is a Zen server community edition type thing. Comes on the heels of a lot of folks who are out of luck if they're using things like ESXi, because as we mentioned last Tuesday, Broadcom bought VMware. They're getting rid of the free tier, so if you've used ESXi as your home lab, you won't receive any more updates, and I don't know how the licensing will work on that. So it makes sense as and maybe you're even a small business and you're using ESXi licensed or otherwise. It might make sense to explore options. Proxmox is one that people have mentioned in our Slack. And I found XCP the other day from a colleague at work. So we are continuing the journey for that. On Tuesday, we actually did the install on a M920Q, which is an IBM ThinkCenter box. So it's a little rectangular box, which you can see if you go back to the stream over there. And yeah, so we're gonna continue the discussion, or continue the process, of which I've gotten a little further, and I'll show you what I've done to date to get to where I am in a second. So one of the aspects to XCP, which, okay, oh, there I am. Hi Brian, how you doing? I'm on delay. Is community powered. Yeah, that's what they call it, community powered. So this is the option. It's a user friendly, okay, high performance virtualization solution. So I will assume high user friendly, high performance should have a comma, and then virtualization solution. I don't know enough about it to be high performance yet. Maybe it does, maybe it don't. So slight warning, I've actually found a legitimate use for Docker for me at my home. So kind of interesting. So hope everybody's following along, and if you're not, that's okay. And feel free to ask questions. So as you can see, I've got my browser window up. I've got a terminal window up. I'm just, this is a WSL terminal, or Windows terminal, if you will, if you're using Windows. And so I was playing around. We installed xcp-ng, but I was having issues doing things like setting up VMs or having error messages with some of the things that came up, and was using let me see. 51. So XCP also has something called XO Lite, which is a dashboard that you can use to show different aspects of things that are running on the system. So your status of your hosts, the number of VMs you're running that are active or inactive, storage usage. So as you can see, I've added one called ISOs here, which we'll talk about in a second. Was able to add an SR, which is a storage repository. Here's the local storage. As you can see, I still have 99.73% connected and available. I've used a total of 2.33 gigabytes, or gigabits, or no, gigabytes, my bad. They make the delineation of GI versus GB as in, I believe the GI is the more correct way of saying 1024 megabytes instead of 1000. So market speak, sometimes when they say, it's a 512 gigabyte GB, they base it off of 1000 instead of 1024. I want to say that's correct. Yes. Okay, so there you go. GB is 10 to the 9 bytes, specifies GB byte to be 10 to 2 to the 30th bytes. So when a 400 gigabyte drive's capacity is displayed as 372 gigs instead of 372 gigabytes or whatever. So yeah, it's based off of base 2 or base the 10 version. So yeah, here you go. So yeah, anything is base is 1000 based. So anything gigabyte is 1024 base. So you get a little, as the higher numbers go up, the more disparaging, the distance you get. So this has 24 more, so it goes up. Hey, Digital Warhead, welcome back. So I made some headway after the stream on Wednesday night, concerning some of the issues there. So so what I'm going to do, I figured out how to get to the console, so we're not going to have to look at my janky screen over here. I was holding up like a monitor and shit. So I'm going to SSH to the box. 51. Okay, so there's that. And so I installed tmux, because one of the issues I had, ironically enough, when I was not in the world headquarters here and I was downstairs in my living room, the SSH connection kept hanging for a couple of seconds. Hey, Age, how you doing? And so I was using tmux because tmux tends to, it tends to keep a more stable SSH connection. So the other thing I learned is that you can go console and get to the exact same console that is on the monitor that you would see if you actually had a monitor connected to your XCP. So when you boot up the system, the first, one of the first things you'll see is the XCP update, which we saw a little while ago, and I believe maybe fix it. I don't have a problem using ChatGPT. The problem is I don't have ChatGPT here on my box, or and usually, back in old-timey days before the world of ChatGPT, I would take the error message and pop it into Google. As a matter of fact, I more than once have told somebody, what does the error message say? And did you look up what that means on Google? Or, did you Google what that error message means to you? You're not the first person to get this error message. So what does it say? What does the documentation say? If you have a web-based ChatGPT that's available, that isn't like a chat bot on some company, yeah, feel free to drop me the link, and we'll give that a shot during the stream here, there, Digital. So yeah, if anything can get me to the right answers, I'm more than willing to give that a shot. So, and 1 second here, turn off the background. There we go. Oh, okay. So there we go. All right. I wouldn't trust proprietary info in a public tool like that for sure. Well, it's not proprietary. I'm not overly worried about that. It's more along the lines of being able to get a decent error message out of it without me, trying to figure out what the hell it means, as well as that. I mean, if it'll give me the right answer, I'm all, yeah, I'll use whatever, available resources for that are possible. So, I don't care about sharing my MAC address or my IP address. It's a 192 address, so that kind of thing. ChatGPT UI, because I don't have accounts for any of these things. So, ChatGPT with a better UI. Yeah, see, I don't want to have to install shit, so. All right, so we'll leave it open here. I don't have a login. Yes, I know that probably makes me a Luddite in this day and age. probably makes me a Luddite in this day and age. Oh, fuck it. How do you log into this shit? All right. 1 second. We'll, blink. We'll just drop off here so that I can hook myself up. I probably have to pay for the OpenAI account. Okay, well, I tried to continue with Google, so they're trying to tell me it doesn't have an account. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, no, I've got it here, so there you go. Okay. As you can see, I've already looked up things. I have the app on my phone, which is like, I'd have to copy paste it into my phone, but I have it on here. So you see things that I've actually tried about, perfect soft yolk, hard boiled eggs, looking up vulnerability summaries for things, so yeah, definitely that. Yeah, xcp-ng prep guides, sky coloring and Rayleigh scattering. All right, cool. So we'll have that. We'll play with that a little bit, Digital Warhead, when an error message comes up. And so all right, so you see in my terminal window over here, you see a number of different things that come up, right? One of the things is storage repositories. So there's a number of storage repositories that are available. Gives me the answer directly rather than having to Google and search through forums. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. You haven't hit your peak searching for an error message until you search for an error message in Google. You find a post from 7 years ago that doesn't have an answer, and you're like, or you get the answer where it's like, hey, I fixed it, no problems. And then you're like, why did that asshole just post, oh, I fixed it, no problems? And then you realize you were the person who wrote both of the problem and then replied to it and said, oh, yeah, hey, I fixed it, no problems. So you haven't lived until that's happened to you at least once. So I think it's happened to me twice. So exactly. So, all right. So the other thing is Docker, right? I have found a use for Docker at home. So, hey, it popped up auto-magically. All right. Okay, so shrink this bad boy down. Okay. So we're going to play a little bit with Docker. Don't be afraid. I've had the Docker running on. God damn. Okay, that's what I get for having a full-sized Docker screen on my 4K monitor over here. So there we go. You can shrink that up a little bit. There we go. All right, so I was thinking about something, and yeah, exactly. It was Digital Word. That was me, except I'm the one who wrote the, hey guys, I fixed it. Okay, thanks, bye. And it was like, yeah, I'm an idiot. So what do you mean Age of Music? But how what? Like I had it fully, maximized on a 4K screen. Just the way I operate, I guess. How did I? Oh, exactly. Yeah. How did you fix it? Yeah. Because I'm a dumbass and I don't keep track of how I fix things. Yeah. Mostly it was OpenBSD stuff, but yeah, there was a couple times I ran into, hey, I need to mount a CD again. I must have done something wrong here. What do I do? And then it was like, oh yeah, I fixed it. No, never mind. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I looked at XOA, which is one of the things that popped up here. So let me see. So here's my dashboard. You can see there's some things going on, some activities that have occurred. We're going to use tmux here. So Control B and then C will automatically recreate you another window in tmux and still keep your original tmux connection, which is similar to Screen, similar to other ones like that. Shrink this down a little bit more so we can see this chat. And so as we remember, our yum upgrade, or yum update, so there's some new updates even now, so let's go ahead and run those. Flipping a keyboard or flipping a table, yeah. Okay, so we've got the latest updates to our xcp-ng, including the new update plugins and what have you. So I was thinking, because I wanted to run XOA, or Zen Orchestrator, and I was like, the instructions were, install from source and all this stuff, and I didn't want to, put a bunch of crufty shit on my so here's the documentation to install, and it was like, building from sources, because you either get a trial version or you can buy it, get a free version here. And, then it was like, oh, well, you can build from source. And it's like, oh, XO requires you have Node.js 18, And it's like, oh, I will consider you have, they're assuming I have all this shit. And I was like, I don't want to use WSL, which one was mentioned. I believe Beta Wolf had mentioned that. And I was like, yeah, I just don't want to pollute my WSL environment with a bunch of Node bullshit and whatever. And I was poking around here at work the other day. I was like, huh. I wonder if somebody's created a Docker for this. Well, as it so happens, yeah, they have. So, Zen Orchestra Docker. So this was the one I used, Ronnie Vey. So it's from Ronnie Vey. I don't know who this guy is, from Finland. So, exactly. Yeah. I was almost thinking about it from an RPG point of view. It's like, did I make it real by Googling for it? Or did I think about it and, my brain changed reality to the point where it's like it made something real. It's like there's no original ideas on the internet. It's like if I thought of it, 1,500 other people have probably already thought of it. So, so let me see. So there is several versions out there. There's a lot of versions of Zen Orchestra. Let's see. So I'm gonna Ronnie Vey. There you go. So you can pull down his latest version right here. I think he's doing his best to try to follow what they consider to be Zen Orchestrator, like master, like the bleeding edge kind of stuff. So, you just boop. He also has burp in Docker, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but we're pulling it down here. You can also run it from the command line and do Docker pull Ronnie Vey. Zen Orchestra. So the run commands, the one thing I had to figure out myself, because I don't use Docker all the time, you add a host port because you've got to be able to connect to the port 80 service inside of the Docker remotely. So I did 8080 because I'm running it locally, not remotely. So I hit run. And all the things come up, the Redis server and all that. That was all the stuff that you had to install on your local box. So I was like, yeah, I'm not looking to do that. Somebody else, I talked to somebody at work and they said, oh yeah, I just ran it on a Linux VM. And that's what kind of made me think about, well, if I can run it in a VM, I can run it in Docker, right? So there's a couple things running here. So now I just go to localhost 8080. And you get your Zen Orchestra UI. Ta-da! So let me bump that up. All right, so it keeps doing admin, which is the default password. So admin@admin.net. The password is admin. I'm not setting, that's the default password for this. If you go in, you look at the documentation, they tell you that admin is the password. So you log in, you get a nice fancy UI. Ooh. And so let me move that over just a little bit. All right. They do tell you this version is not bundled with any support or updates. Use with caution. You can go over here to XOA and you can see things like, your licenses. If you had a license of this, I guess you could register your license and get that kind of stuff. But anywho, so I want to add a server. And so what I do is I, mothership, XCP, IP address is 192.168.1.51, username is root, and password is the password that I created for it. There we go. So the other thing you want to do, and let me shrink this up a little bit because it doesn't flow right if it's too big. So there we are, we're at 100%. Unauthorized certificates you want to set that way because I haven't made a self-signed certificate or anything other than a self-signed certificate, so it will error out if you don't do that. So you go connect, and you see the enabled here. Not now, thank y'all. And then you see the pool popped up here. So that means I'm connected to that. And you see there was a new option down here for new. There's a couple of new, like you can go look at the dashboards. You can scroll down through. So there's a pool, there's a host. So you can see your host, the mothership XCP. The pool, you long edit. You can look at how many hosts. There's 4 SRs or storage repos available. RAM usage, so I have 16 gigs of RAM, 2.43 is being used. Storage, obviously I've got a lot of storage here. So local storage, 856 gigabits or gigabytes, whatever. We'll just call it gigabytes. The pedantic people will let me know that I'm incorrect there on chat. And you see they've got a ton of things here. Now, I haven't actually gotten to the point where I've been able to launch a VM. There's an error message that pops up. Digital Warhead will use ChatGPT when that error message comes up, but I'm just showing some of the things that I've done thus far. So no, that's not what I wanted. Let's see. All right, so so in the configuration, they give you the option to downgrade it if you don't want it to run as root. Obviously that's dangerous as shit, and you don't want to run anything with complete root access. I'm actually unhappy that Zen allows you to SSH without opening that port, so it's automatically exposed, and it has a root password. So, and you can log in as root. So there's at least 3 or 4 findings. If I was a pen tester here, it's like 1, you're allowed to SSH as root. And there's a bunch of shit. So, and you can create your own SSL certificates using Let's Encrypt. I'm sorry, I'm not tired. Well, I am tired. I did my back workout today, and then I ran a 5K at lunch. So, humble brag. But yeah, I'm dragging ass. Plus, I'm standing up because I don't want Mama Kitty to join me today. So, I love her, but she sometimes is annoying. She's family, so I love her. So, all right. So, infrastructure users. I guess I should, go back in. Let me see, where did we end up at? Yeah, so you can see the UI is working here. We'll get our error messages here in this. Oh, I'm sorry. Here in this window when we do things like try to make a VM. So there was some, let me see, what is that? Oh yeah, here's the XO Lite. You can see the RAM usage went up because I've been running it overnight. Oh, I also did figure out a way to get to the RAM and the hard drive on the box. If you saw it Tuesday and I showed you the underside was like, oh, you can't get to it. Well, I actually figured out that bottom plate pops off and you can actually get to the RAM and the hard drive inside on the underside of the motherboard. So just a thought there for y'all to just in case. All right, so the first thing I did, and the first thing it suggested, was to add new storage, because I was like, I want to install a VM and I need an ISO on the box, right? So I thought I would start off with something fairly vanilla, Debian 10, right? So I went in, downloaded it from Debian.org. and you know, oh, yeah, let's screw that up. All right. Debian 10 ISO. There you go. So downloaded Buster. It's not new. It's probably close to end of life, but that's okay. Obviously, Bookworm, it's interesting when they go to try to install the VMs, it says Bookworm is still somewhat experimental. And that's another thing we'll show in a second. Bullseye is the new one for 11, but 10.13 is fairly mature. So I was hoping it would be the most supported version here. So I downloaded the ISO. It's I did the net install is fine because I had access. So as you can see, I've already downloaded. It's about 300 megs. So you go back in, and the first thing I did was, add VM new storage. And the first thing that pops up is create new SR. So SR is storage repository. You select a host, and in the drop down, it gives you whichever host you're connected to. I assume there's configurations where you could say you're going to like a primary controller that will control other, XCP instances on the back end and kind of be like a manager of those things. That's the, or maybe you have multiple copies or multiple configurations that you can connect to. So I clicked on this. This is the amount of RAM free. I don't quite understand that. Should give you something like storage, but you can say storage name, and this is going to be the type or the ISO that you're going to upload in this case. I called it, storage name, Debian ISO, storage description, ISOs for install, storage type, and they give you a bunch of them. So there's VDIs, external, local, HBAs, iSCSI, so that's like SCSI over the internet kind of thing. So if you can, it's protocol. LVM, I'm not using that. I don't have NFS or Samba or SMB shares, and I'm not using ZFS. I actually thought about using ZFS or XFS for the file system because you can create pools and get around. Not get around, but you can add more pools. There's the VHD format that XCP uses has a maximum of 2 terabytes, and using ZFS you can actually get around that by mapping more drives inside the system. So it sees the initial X space, and then you can add that. But I decided not to do that, and so I just went ISO local. You can do the path to directory. So I did media, and this will probably error out for me because I already have a media system here. Actually, I could probably do MNT, and everything's running as root. That's the other thing. So everything I'm doing here is running as complete root back and forth between a non-encrypted connection. That's the other thing as well. So you can create the UI works, and so what you'll find is you go to disks. There's no VDIs here. You got stats. Let me see. So you can rescan. General. Now those are the tags. How did I add that new VM? So yeah, here's storage server network. Yeah, so you can connect to multiple servers that way. Add an ISO Zen Orchestra. Yeah, there we go. So their blog post is like, how to add a local Zen repo. You create an ISO store, right? Name it ISO SR. Yeah, so you go in, you add the host, ISOs, whatever, media, create, and then ISOs. Upload your ISO. There you go. So you go into import and then disk. That's what it was. All right. So yeah, import disk. There you go. And then select your SRs. And you see I have one called Debian ISO already that's going to go to mount, which I'll delete later. But I have one called ISOs as well. When we go look at ISOs, you can drop your raw or ISO files here. So raw files would be like if you've taken an image of a CD-ROM, and then there's certain formats you can use, like UDF or ISO or RAW, which is a RAW, I want to say is like a one-for-one uncompressed copy, probably. But let me see. Can I show everybody the storage? No, that's not new. I want to look at the pools. No, storage. Here we go. All right, there we go. So ISOs. So you see the Debian ISOs. You click on it, and stats, disk. Yeah, so you can see I've already uploaded a 10.13.0 ISO, netinst ISO for 337 meg, and it's located at /media. So /media is on the directory. So if I go cd media, I thought, oh, it's going to upload it and give me the file name that I uploaded it as. No, it gives it to you as a UUID. So that's the .image file for that, and it's 337 megs. So you can see that it's when you've uploaded it, it won't store it as that file name. So when you go in here, you have to, if you ever want to look at the files, let's say you've got a dozen ISOs here, you kind of need to know which one is which requires you to use something like Zen Orchestrator to go, oh, this is what I have in the system. So it doesn't, it doesn't even tell you which one it is here. It just, oh, there you go. So Applebee's at 4:15. Son of a bitch. Okay. I should have started earlier. Yeah, digital warhead. Yeah. So one of the things it tells you is you can copy the UUID, which B3 E6 DB7D. That's this. That matches that ISO right there. Yeah, I should have started earlier. That's on me, digital warhead. Sorry, Age of Music. But yeah. So I mean, maybe I'll get on tomorrow as well. Just futz around with these things. So. So yeah, and then what happens is after you've added it, you can upload it, and it'll upload over the HTTP connection or the HTTPS connection and allow you to be using this. And so the problem I came up to is when I go to VMs, because I want to create a new VM, and you go in here and you select a template. So I picked Debian Buster 10. I called it Debian Buster, so Debian. Asks me the number of vCPUs and RAM. I would suggest knowing how many vCPUs or sockets or slots you have. I picked 2 and I put 4 gigs of RAM, which technically is a lot for this system here that only has 16 gigs in it. So again, you don't want to exceed your RAM for the OS and the VM. The ISO you can select here, 10.13. I didn't do anything for the Mac, and I left it as the pool-wide network associated with that. And the SR is the local storage. So tomorrow when I stream, I'll let you know about some of the issues I had with the hard drive being initialized and being GPT'd and whatever. So so you see that, and I gave it a 40 gig drive because I wanted to have enough. 10 gigs probably was going to be enough, but I didn't want to have to worry about that too much. I didn't play with any of the advanced settings there. The problem comes when I click create. And I get a error message of which you see here where it says SR has no PDS, opaque ref, blah, 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 UUID. So at some point, thank you, Digital. I appreciate that. Anyway, so I'm going to have to go. But I will be back tomorrow. I wish I could have been on a little bit longer than this, but I had some work shit I had to finish. I think I'll continue discussing this tomorrow. So if you want to come and join, or you just watch it on VOD, that'd be great. And but yeah, that's where I've got to right now. Where I can't. It says SR has no PDS. A lot of the discussions and stuff that I read was not helpful, including I think one of the main organizers of XCP was like, "Why aren't you using master?" And I was like, "Okay, great." So. All right, I'm going to go. Thank you all for hanging out real quick, and I'll see you all hopefully tomorrow, okay? Thanks, y'all.